A lot of people are building directory sites using AI, but that's not the only way, and I honestly don't think that's the best way. I'm going to show you from start to finish how I'm building out directory sites using WordPress. You can see here on the screen here behind me is my Find Bungee Fitness site. If you have watched my video where I tested the Cadence AI site builder template thing to see if I could make a directory site with that AI starter site plugin, this was the result. It obviously did not work quite like I'd hoped it would, so that is the basically canvas that we're starting out with. I'm not actually going to start tweaking, how the website looks yet. First, what I want to do is walk you through, how did I find this niche? Why did I choose it? How am I getting my data? Things like that. So first things first, I'm going to show you how I picked this niche and where I found it. On the screen here is the JSON file for Journey by Mediavine. Now, what this JSON file does is it shows you all of the sites that are monetized by Journey by Mediavine ads. There are a ton of directory sites currently being monetized, on the Journey program. So what I did is I went through this list to see, what kind of directories are people building? Where do I see an opportunity? Maybe where I can do something better than them, or I can bring a little more to the table than they are bringing. Now I'm going to just go ahead and show you basically that Bungee is in here. You can see that the URL that's in here for the website is Bungee Fitness Near Me. I was honestly just searching this JSON file for near because I figured there would be some people who had named their directory sites with near me and it just like this. So that is honestly why I chose this site. Let me show you what this site looks like. Hopefully it still looks the same as when I picked it because I did see opportunity. So it has changed a little from when I last saw it. But you can see here what the website looks like right now. Looks like they're doing not just the US because we've also got Australia on here. For my site and the data that I have already scraped from Google Maps, I'm only focusing on the US. So, in that respect, this site has now got a little more to offer. It didn't have all of the stuff for the Bungee equipment, things like that on it before. I do not plan on doing a homepage quite like this, so that is something interesting to see. I've got all the blog posts down here. It makes me wonder maybe if this site changed owner since I last saw it. I am curious now if this site is getting any traffic because it was not getting traffic when I first found it, at least not from Google. Let's just look on the Ahrefs free tool they have to check website traffic. So, I have a long history of using Ahrefs. I don't currently pay for it. I haven't in more than a year. But they do have a lot of free tools on their site that anybody can use. One of those tools is the website traffic checker. So let's just take a look, pop this URL in here, see what kind of traffic this site is getting right now, if any. 483. It looks like there is a decline. Looks like they were up to over 4,000. So you can see that I picked this niche quite a while ago because the site was not getting any traffic on Google at the time. There was a recent core update, so that looks like that's probably why it has dropped. What I find most interesting here, though, is that the top countries for traffic is Australia. Like I said, I'm not targeting Australia. So that's something interesting for me to see. Clearly, if my site does not do well, what I could do is come back and and look for these Australian keywords here, but that's not really important to me right now. I'm also curious about what kind of backlinks does this site have, right? And again, you don't have to have the paid, here it is, the paid version of Ahrefs to check backlinks. You can't get a full picture, but you can just get a quick little snapshot of what's going on with the site. Domain rating 54. We've had an SEO send a bunch of, this is actually probably what happened with the site losing all of its traffic. Somebody went a little too hard here with their backlinking. Definitely an example of what not to do. These are the kind of things where, they work until they don't, right? And we can see that this no longer works. Okay, so we're back at the site. Like I said, I'm not really going to worry about the design right now because if you watch the other video, you know that I have this site set, at least I should have this site set, to not be discoverable by search engines right now. I do not remember which link here it is, discourage search engines. Yeah, so it shouldn't even be indexed right now. So I'm not really worried about that. What I am worried about is now that I have my niche, right, getting that data so I can start building up this site. The map scraper that I've been using is called Apify. I know that a lot of people are using Outscraper. I've used both. I like this one better. It just seems a lot easier to use. I think the pricing's a little better. You can see right here the Google Map Scraper. It does also Instagram and TikTok and other stuff. Just a quick look here at the pricing. This is actually one of the reasons I really love this. There is a free level where they give you $5 in your account that you can spend. Now, if you are going to be building a directory where you're not going to have a ton of businesses, that $5 is going to go a long way. You may not even have to pay for an account. I tried it with this niche and it didn't work. I couldn't get all of the data, so I ended up having to do a paid account. There are plenty of coupon codes you can find out there if you just do a search. So that is what I did, and I managed to get this for $27 for the first 3 months. So today we'll just go ahead and click on the free plans because I don't want to use my paid credits, and they've already actually done this. And we will run it for free, and I'll give you an idea of how this works. So let me go ahead and get logged in here with a new account. Now I am signed up with a new account. Got my $5 down here, as you can see in the corner. And what we're going to do is I'm going to show you exactly how I use this to scrape Google Maps. First, let's find it. I may have to, oh, here it is. I thought I might have to search for it. So if you have never scraped, Google Maps, this is going to look really overwhelming at first. But just stay on this page that we are already on. The first thing we are going to start with is the search term. You can hover over this, I think. Oh no, you have to actually click on it. So basically this is what you would normally search for in the Google Maps search bar. So since my thing is bungee fitness, I'm gonna have a few different options here. So whenever I'm getting ready to scrape something new in Google Maps, what I like to do is actually go to Google Maps first to get an idea, if I just put in bungee fitness, which I've already done, what kind of stuff is coming up? Am I getting the types of businesses that I'm looking for? That way, if I'm not, I can figure out, well, what variation of this keyword do I need to use to make sure I'm getting data, when I do my scrape that I can actually use. Now, you'll probably notice that my Google Maps screen looks a little different than yours. It's going to be all this thing with the categories and stuff. That's because I run an agency, GrowthCupid, where we do local SEO. And this is just a free plugin. I honestly don't even remember what it's called. Maybe it's called Local Scan. I have no idea. But basically, I use this for doing client work for small businesses, local businesses. But the nice thing about this for me, and maybe I should actually figure out what this is called so that I can put it down below in the description, is with this particular plugin, you can see the additional categories that are listed in the Google business profile for a business. Now this is going to be really helpful for you in one of the steps we're going to see in just a minute here of what are we actually, we don't want to scan like the whole entirety of Google Maps, right? We want to narrow it down to certain categories to make sure we're getting what we want. So looking right here, I put in bungee fitness. Looking at this, I can see these pictures. I'm getting exactly what I want. So bungee fitness, that's clearly going to be the keyword that I'm going to want to use, right? So we will pop back over here, and I will just put in bungee fitness right here. Now, you may have more than one keyword you want to use. If that's the case, you would just click on the add button there. Do keep in mind, though, that the more things you add on here, the more this is going to cost you in the end. Now, the cost is really super cheap, though, so I don't really see that being a big concern, unless you're building a directory on something that's going to have like thousands upon thousands upon thousands of businesses, So we need to pick a location. I want my location to be USA. Let me see if that is a default or not. Let's see here. Looks like this is actually something that you don't need to fill out unless you do have a specific location. Again, I'm building a directory that covers all of the United States. Every directory I have built and am planning on building only targets, the entire US. So that is what we will keep there. Now this is auto pre-filled to basically if you have a limit on the number of places that you want it to extract for you. This is not something I want to fill out because I don't want there to be a limit, right? I want to get every single bungee fitness business that I can find in the United States. Obviously, I do want English. You may want Spanish or another language, so you can change that as you see fit. So now we're looking at categories filter, which I just covered just a second ago. I mentioned that we were going to discuss this. They've got a great example here, basically hotels, seaside hotels, things like that. So basically what I'm looking for is what categories am I going to find relevant businesses that are offering, bungee fitness classes and exercise. This is when Google Maps comes in handy again. So I'm going back over here. So this one, fitness center, aerial sports center. That's obviously a bit more relevant to me. So I definitely want to put that in. If I recall correctly, this will auto-populate, looks like. Let's see here. Aerial Sports Center, is that what it was? Let's find out. Yep. And as I was looking at that, I already saw some other things that seemed relevant. Let's see. Well, it disappeared there, didn't it? Oh, aero dance class. I don't know what that is. Let's find out. Okay, let's see here. Oh, I just saw pole dancing, but they're also doing bungee. I don't think I used this category in my original scrape. The problem is that not all of these are going to be, include bungee, I suspect. Let's just see what comes up in Google Maps for it, right? So we've got the one that says bungee. This aerial athletica, though, seems like that's bungee too. So looking at this, I think I'm going to have to include that, even though I didn't in my first scrape. That means I'm going to have to rerun my entire scrape. But we'll go ahead with this $5 freebie because I don't want to have to change computers. And I'll do a proper thing on my own later. Let's see here, aero dance class. And that showed me I should also be putting in dance school. I don't know if you noticed that was what some of these were categorized as. I do wonder though if the dance schools and the aero dance classes, if bungee fitness is going to come up. Let's see here. Why don't we can search the reviews for the word bungee, I believe. I really thought you could search these. Let's see here. Okay, so obviously we have bungee, but we don't have fitness. That one is fitness. Let's click on this one, see. Is that the one we're on, actually? No. I don't know why I can't search within the reviews because I can do it on my phone. Let's just try a Control F here. So it looks like I'm gonna have to actually not look for bungee fitness, but just bungee. And hopefully that will not give me some false positives here. So let's go back up here and amend this to just bungee. Back down to picking our categories. Fitness center, we need. So we'll put that in. I thought the gym was on there. See if there's anything else we need to include here in our scraper. See if this one has any more. So GMB Everywhere is actually the name of this. Looks like I'm not actually logged in, so we will skip that for now. So physical fitness program, there's another one, and a gymnastics center. So this is probably the perfect example of something that's going to run out of money before just the $5. Physical fitness program. There we go. I don't know that yoga studio is a good one. We'll see if any of the others have yoga studio listed. Oh, there's another one. Okay, we'll add yoga. Oh, Pilates as well. Okay, so we'll add yoga and Pilates. Oops. Yoga studio. So that should do it. So that's going to be all of the categories that I'm going to be having this scraper look in for now, just the word bungee, right? So I don't want it to have an exact name. I don't really have a minimum star rating. Scrape all places with or without website. Obviously I want it to scrape all places. Skip closed places. I don't know if this means closed for good. So that's temporary or permanently. I'm going to leave this one as is because I don't want it to skip over things that are temporarily closed. This probably is going to mean that we're going to have to clean up this data and there may be some permanently closed places on here. Okay, the next one, add-ons. I didn't do any of this. I've been leaving this completely blank. Depending on what you are scraping for, though, you may need to enable some of this. Although I did just notice the scrape inside places, malls, or shopping centers. I think I'm going to have to actually turn that on simply because I actually live here in Vegas and there is a shopping center that has a bungee fitness place in it. So we will turn that on. Let's see, company details. You know, I definitely need the phone number. I don't know that I need the email and social profiles. But it does say make sure to toggle the option scrape only the places with a website. I think for now I'm going to leave this off because I don't really, well, no, I'm going to turn that on because that might be something people don't have, right? Okay, don't really need business leads for this purpose. Reviews is not something that I'm generally scraping. You could if you wanted, but that's not really something I'm scraping. You can scrape as many images as you want to pay for. I'm going to do one additional image, it looks like, because the main image is already included by default and completely free of charge. So now we can define our search. This is where I'm going to pick just the United States, because like I said, I don't want it scraping the entire world. Keep it just for the United States. I don't enter in anything in this particular section either. It may be something that you choose to do yourself. I'm also not doing this one either. Then we have our run options. Again, not something I changed. And now all you have to do is click save and start. And then you can see it's starting to run. And then up here at the top, you will be able to see the progress as well as how much this, particular scrape is costing you. You can see, that it has already got some results down here for us. We can see the place name. It's giving us, the review information. If it has a website, that's here too. Phone number. Let's see here if we can get a scroll bar to go all the way over here. And then what we have here is the Google Maps URL. And we can also see, like this one clearly had a different category as well, bungee jumping center. So that's pretty interesting because I didn't actually select that. So I'm not sure how we ended up with that. Must be a secondary category more than likely. Okay, so I have paid to rerun this basically scraping here. You can see that it is finished, ended up with 1,630 results, 1,603 total all in. Took almost 22 minutes to download. Now, if you're using Apify, which is the tool that I'm using to scrape Google Maps, when you're done, you have this export button up here on the top, and that's going to give us options for basically, exporting this data. You've got JSON, CSV, all these options. What you're going to want to download it as is JSON, just because now with the directory plugin that I'm using, you need it to be in CSV, but what I have discovered is that when you have this much data in Apify, the CSV file, it doesn't really include everything because it's too large. Let me show you what I'm talking about here. So if we click on this, you're going to see down here at the bottom, it says the number of columns in the data set is over the limit of 2,000. And if you're like me, you're probably thinking like, how is it like more than 2,000 columns? Because I didn't select that many items, to actually have it, scraped. Unfortunately, it's just the way that it gets scraped, so it ends up being like way too big. You can basically use this drop down to omit fields that show up. Like for instance, you'll see this booking links. I don't know if this is for hotels or restaurants in Google Maps. Obviously not something that you would need in, my particular data set. So I did try, basically eliminate everything that I could think of that I wouldn't need. Still didn't really work the way that I wanted. And then I was like, I just spent all this time doing this. Even if it had worked, it took me so much more time. There is an easier way to do this. So if you are using Apify, definitely do not use CSV for your downloads. Choose JSON. Okay, so I'm choosing JSON. Just going to click download that. It's going to download it. It's already done. So now what do we do? So now we need to convert our JSON file to CSV. I just did a search online, found a tool. It worked, so that's what we're going to use. I've already done this, but I will show you what it looks like. The tool I'm using is convertcsv.com. I will include the link down below. I'm not affiliated with it at all, but it is free to use. So basically what happens is I choose my file here. Okay, I've got my file chosen, ready to be converted. I can choose output options if I want to. I didn't click anything here. I just left it as the default. Click convert JSON to CSV. Obviously this kind of looks like gibberish right here, but you scroll down, you see it all formatted. It looks great, right? So then you just click download result. Now I'll show you what this result looks like. When I was doing this, there was basically some funky characters that ended up coming up in my CSV, so that is something you're going to have to watch for. Let me open the file for you and I'll show you what I'm talking about. So I've just opened this in Excel, and oddly it's not showing the errors that I got the first two times I did this process. So just keep in mind that when you do the conversion on that free tool from JSON to CSV, you may have some issues with some weird little funky characters. If that happens to you, just use find and replace in Excel or Sheets, whatever you're using. That way you can just replace all of the problems at once. One thing though I do notice just looking at this file immediately here is we have some differences with how the phone numbers are formatted. Like you can see this one right here is using parentheses around the area code, while this one is not doing that, plus it has a +1 in the front of it. So when we're cleaning up our data for our directory sites, this is the kind of stuff that we're going to have to be looking at, fixing, because it's basically not going to import things correctly. Actually it may, I don't know, I didn't try it. I just like things to be uniform, so I wanted mine fixed, so I basically fixed mine myself. Again, I use a lot of find and replace. In the raw data too, I had to use the concatenate formula quite a bit to get things formatted the way that I wanted, and that is simply because of the plugin that I am using to build my directory. Okay, so the file that I have open right now is basically my CSV file that is ready for upload. So this is after I've cleaned up the data the way that I wanted to. Like I told you, I used a lot of the concatenate formula to basically combine some different columns here. And the reason that I had to do that primarily is because I'm using the free Directorist plugin. I'm not using the paid version. So I'm a bit limited in the things that I can do and the number of basically fields that are going to populate on the individual directory listings. So what I had to do is, and if you're using it for the first time as well, is you're going to want to open it up and act like you were getting, prepared to upload your CSV. Maybe you just have a dummy file that you're going to use. Then it's going to come up and it's going to want you to like basically map the categories that you have in your spreadsheet to the relevant categories in Directorist. And I'm going to show you this later on in this video. So basically what I did is, I just had a little index card here, and I wrote down, what fields do I have available to me? What am I going to put in each field? And so that resulted in me having to basically do a bit more cleaning up of data than I normally do because I had so many data fields for the scrape that I did. For instance, if you look here, let me go to the description file, you'll notice that I've put in the hours. That's because, like I said, I'm using the free version, so I need a way to pull in the hours because in the original, file that I got from Apify, it was broken up into so many columns. One column was labeled Monday, one column was the hours for Monday, the next column was labeled Tuesday, and so on and so forth. So I had to concatenate, all of those into this single column. So that's the kind of stuff that I was doing, for basically cleaning up my data. And one thing to know about the free Directorist plugin is you are only able to import a single photo. If you want to, have more than one photo per listing, you have to use the paid version so that you can use, the image gallery option. Like I said, I'm using the free version, so that's not an option for me. One thing I do want to point out to you is this tags column that I have created here at the very end. You'll notice that some of these are just like random ass, commas together. Then you'll see other ones where maybe there's some text, but then there's, groups of commas. Again, that's because I was using the concatenate function again, because I wanted to get all these tags, all the, basically things that would be good for people to know. And I have no other way to do it using the free version. So I've actually never uploaded a CSV with, empty tags with these commas. So I don't know how this is actually going to work when I upload it. So that'll be something interesting for us to find out. I could have tried to do like a find and replace to get rid of all of these commas, but I was afraid that would mess up the data in some of the other columns. So I'm leaving it and we're going to see what's going to happen with it. Okay, now we are on the plugins part of the WordPress dashboard for my directory site. You can see that I have already installed the Directorist plugin. Again, this is the free version. It's basically just in the WordPress repository there. So you just search for the plugin, install it. Now, when you do install it, it's going to go ahead and create a bunch of pages for you for the directory functionality. Let me show you what that looks like. So we've got an add a listing page, an all listings page, a directory author profile, the Directorist dashboard. What else do we have here? Search home, search results, sign-ins, if you're gonna let people sign into your directory to do their own things, single category results, single location results, single tag results. So all these get created for you automatically. Now there is a thing over here on the sidebar that you're gonna wanna be aware of. I've already gone through it, but let's go back and look at the sections here for the settings. So, the way that you're building your directory may vary from how I'm building mine. So I'm just going to show you, what I have went ahead and set up for my listings here. For me, I think the most important thing is looking at single listings. You can see some information right here. It gives you information on, basically if you're taking submissions from other people, who land on your site, things like that. I believe what we really want to look at here is page setup, maybe? No, that's not it. Let's see here. You can go through this, make any changes that you want. I feel like I've left everything, for the most part, default settings, Directory Builder, though, is where you're going to set up like what is your single listing pages going to look like. There is something very important I need to show you, which is by default with Directorist. I don't know if it's true with the paid version, but it definitely is with the free version. When listings are created, by default, they are set to expire within 1 year. We obviously do not want that to happen. So you have to change that before you upload your CSV file. because you cannot bulk edit your listings, unfortunately. I don't even think you can do it with the paid version. So you want to make sure you get it right the first time. Let's see if we can find that here. I don't remember if it's on this page or not. Okay, so it's on the general tab, which is the first tab that you land on under Directory Builder. Default listing expiration days. Make sure you set this to 0. Otherwise, all your listings are basically going to expire and be not visible after a year. So the single page layout is where we're going to go to basically set up, like, how is a single listing going to look? What are these fields going to be? This is where I told you you're going to need to go to look, basically to know what to name the columns in your CSV file. So contents is where you will find basically the fields that you're going to want to use for your CSV file. I've already made some changes to this to get this the way that I want it to look. You can see these things can just be dragged and dropped to move. You can move them in different sections. You can remove an entire section. Like I said, I have set this up the way that I want it. Feel free to do it however you want. Let me scroll down here so you can see it all. Some of the stuff won't have anything to populate in it. Basically, you can pause this if you need to see basically what I've set up if you want to do it exactly the way that I have. I don't think I changed anything else really. I may have changed something on here. I don't really know. So you'll just have to compare that honestly to what you see when you install this yourself. So now that we've gone through this, I do want to go ahead and walk you through uploading and creating all these listings. So let's get started on that. Okay, to basically upload your CSV file and get all of your listings created, you're going to want to click on the settings section under the directory listings area here. Then you're going to click on import and export, and then you're going to click on run importer. So now this is going to open for you, and basically you just need to select your file and upload your CSV. Okay, so I've got my file selected and we're going to upload it. I don't remember how long this takes. Okay, so here we are. Now we have to map, like I told you, the columns in our CSV to the fields that are going to be on the individual listing page. I already told you I'd written mine down on an index card here, so now I just need to make sure everything matches. So category name, that says do not import, but we do want that. Oh, so that's called category. Address, neighborhood, I do have that. Where did I put it? Location. Yep. Website. Phone number, map, I do have that. Did I call it map? Let's find out. I did. But that's named different things. So looks like I concatenated these together when I did not need to. So that's interesting. Because it's showing sample, right? Oh, that's showing me what my file looks like. So I may need to redo this. Let's see what happens here. I wonder, we'll try this and we'll see what happens. I may need to redo that. Then we have description, which I have put my hours in. Did I name it description? Yes. Image URL, we definitely want it to import. And I believe I just named it image. Maybe images. Let's find out. Located in. I think I did this, but I don't think I wrote down. I didn't write down what I wanted it to be. And I don't think you can import two things into the same, but let's find out. Let's see what happens there. So this is the extra images that I downloaded when I didn't mean to. we'll just put images and you know what, we'll see which image gets uploaded, right? Custom is an extra picture that I'd found. But you know what, I didn't create my custom field yet. Let me hop back and do that. In my custom content, basically I found a way to put in my extra images just using HTML, right? So I actually have a custom content thing here. So let me see if I can just go back to where I was. I can. Let's see, is custom here? No. So oddly, it looks like I cannot include that. I wonder if we can add it in description. Let's try. And then there's my tags. So we'll try that too. Let's see what happens now. So while I was waiting for the listings to be created, I realized my error in the custom content field, which was I didn't actually give it a label name. So I actually just like closed the import page. I think it worked to stop it. Let's refresh and see if there's any more listings being created. Looks like no. So what I need to do now is delete these 163 listings. Then I need to fix my field here. Let's see here, directory builder, single page layout, contents. I have my custom content here somewhere, but like I said, I've not given it a label, and I think that is my error. Looks like I also need a tag, possibly. Okay, let's give it a label of, oops, more images, and we'll see if that works. Let's update that. I did want to show you too that I was able to see that some of the things where I was like, oh, I'll try this, didn't quite work out, so I will have to adjust that in my re-upload. Obviously the hours didn't fill here because I had put the image here again. The maps also did not work with the latitude and longitude, simply because like I don't have enough fields to do that. So that's something else I'm gonna have to work on real quick. So I also noticed in looking at the listings that uploaded before I stopped the import, I actually was incorrect that you put a 0 here under default listing expiration days, because if they all uploaded to 163, it uploaded that expiring immediately. So no, don't put a 0 here. So we're going to try putting in 5 9s and see if that works. We don't know if it will or not. I also, let me go ahead and update this. I went ahead while I had paused the recording to see if I could get that custom field to show up on the import form. Didn't work. So I just want to take you back to show you how I've mapped my CSV columns to the available listing field. And I will show you, let's see here, you know, I've got the custom field listed. It's just not showing up here, and I don't know if that's something that means, you know, you need to have the paid version of Directorist. So that might be something I look into in the future, but for this particular directory and the ones I've done in the past, not a big deal. So I'm going to go ahead and import those listings again. And while this is working, I'm actually going to go ahead and look at some of the listings that are created so I can stop it again if I need to. So let's just go up here, click on all listings. We got one right here. Let's have a look. It's looking pretty good so far. We've got our hours. Not ideal, but they're in there. So, I mean, this looks fine, right? It's basic, but it looks good enough. Obviously our maps is not working. I'm not sure why this says more images though, because, so I should actually take that extra image out in the description. So let's just see here. We'll go to the dashboard in a new tab. go to Directory Builder, single page layout, and see what I've done there with an extra image. Here I have. This is where I thought I was going to be able to put in more images, so we're going to remove that field and click Update. Now let's go back and look at that listings I'd opened. So for the ones already created, apparently it's going to stay there. Let's see what happens if we click Edit Listing. So there's the map, which should be working. There's our single image. So I'm not sure why. Let's update that. View the post. Now our map is working. I noticed this the other day when I was working with Directorist on a different site. Obviously I don't want to go into 1600 listings to do this, so it looks like that is just going to stay there in the description field. Let's see what I've done. Is it the text area maybe? Oh no, it's right here, images. Let's try deleting this. Go back to that single listing page and refresh. So yeah, that's just gonna stay. So obviously don't make the same mistake I did and put that in first thing there. But obviously I think we're still creating listings, so 650 of them should have the image like that, and the rest of them should not. Let's see if we can go back and see any of the newer listings that have been created. Looks like we got some dupes in here. Let's view this one. So it's still doing that. I honestly do not know why it's doing that. Like I said, it's not a huge deal. You know, if you just want to get, you know, your directory site up fast, you know, this is basically how I've been getting directory sites up fast. Personally, I prefer, you know, creating directory sites that don't have, you know, a ton of locations like this one, because you know, obviously, again, the map isn't working. Click Edit, scroll down, there's the map. Click Update, and it's probably going to be there again. Yep, there it is. You know, I don't want to have to go into 1600, you know, and 30 different posts to take care of this, but I might have to. So that's just something basically for you to keep in mind, you know, as you are using the free version of Directorist. Again, I've not used the paid version, so I don't really know, you know, if there's a difference, you know, if the, you know, the map will work properly the first time, if you will be able to, you know, use that custom field, things like that. So that's just something to keep in mind, you know, as you're using it. The free version does have its limitations. Now let's go back and see what our progress looks like. Okay, so everything has already been, you know, uploaded from my spreadsheet. You can see over here in the final column that we have our expiration date in 2299. So guess that was a good way to go about that. I already showed you some of the problems. It looks like here I have 60 expired, so when I was deleting these earlier, they didn't all get deleted. So now I've got all my listings, right? So what I need to do next, you know, is basically, you know, check out the pages that were auto-created, you know, when I installed the plugin. Make sure those are working correctly. And I only mention that because there was one time when I was installing the plugin on one of my other directory sites, and the pages just didn't work for some reason. It was the most bizarre thing. So we'll go to all pages here, look at all listings. So this is what it's looking like for me right now. You know, the top part here, that's just based on, you know, the theme that I installed, which if you watched my video on using the Cadence AI starter template, that's why, you know, I have this particular design. So you can see this looks pretty good. You can see my tags, they seem to work. I don't see any that have the weird commas, so that was something that I was, you know, curious to see if it worked, so I'm happy to see that. We've got all of our listings here. We've got, you know, where you can go through them at the bottom here. Click on one. looks like, again, map isn't showing up. Like I said, I feel like I'm going to have to click on every single one of these, which is a bit annoying. What I am curious about is, which one of these, that had multiple tags, are they going to have just a single tag, or are they going to have multiple tags? I'm also noticing in the URL here we have a -2, which I don't know if we have two different businesses or if this was where I had, stopped the uploading previously. So let's click on that and see. So it probably is because I did that. So that's mildly annoying, but not, devastating. The next page I want to look at, I'm most curious about. I actually don't know what the Directorist dashboard looks like. So looks like if people, if you're letting people upload their own listings, which I probably am not going to do. I probably will put like a form so that I can look over it first. Search home, let's look at that. So it's just basic page. Let's just put in, well, now we saw this is an option. So then we get results. No idea what this junk is. I'll have to look back at my source file there. So these are the kind of problems you may encounter, when you import your stuff here. So that's just something for us to, keep in mind, as we are uploading things. I don't know why this happened. It could be, user error on my part. I don't know that I've had this happen before, but like I said, I normally work, in niches with a much smaller, basically, set of data. So here's let's see if we can just get, so everything seems to be working so far. Like I said, the one thing I am curious about is if we have any double tags on things, or are we only getting one? Let's find my original CSV file. Looks like it might still be open. Okay, so this one has more than one. Impulse Bungee Fitness. So let's take a look at that and see if we end up with more than one tag or not. Give this a view. So it's nice to see it did work. So I did end up with multiple tags for the businesses that did have multiple tags in their Google Business Review. So that is great to see. So now that I've got this all put in, obviously I have a few things to look through, like, the things that didn't have the correct business name. If I feel like it, go through, all 1,630 listings to make the map appear, which I honestly should probably do at some point. You'll see I still have this set where I don't want search engines to find it yet. So once I am done, tweaking the site, I will remove that setting so that it starts getting indexed. The other thing I wanted to show you is the plugins that I use. I like to keep things nice and light. This Go SMTP and SMTP Pro, as well as Loginizer and Loginizer Pro, as well as Speedy Cache and Speedy Cache Pro. Those are just plugins that come from my host. The hosting company that I'm using for this particular website is Big Scoots. It's a little pricey though. I don't recommend it for most people. I think Hostinger is actually a far superior choice for most people. This is just basically, I put this on a hosting plan where I have some other sites on. That's why I have these installed. You by no means need, any of these plugins that are auto-installed. They just happen to be there. So I'm using the Cadence themes. I've got Cadence Pro, the Cadence Blocks, as well as the Cadence Blocks Pro. And then I haven't activated it yet, but Rank Math SEO is the SEO plugin that I always use for my sites. You can use any SEO plugin that you want. It doesn't really matter what you choose. They're just nice to have, basically, so that you right out of the box end up with the bare minimum of SEO optimization. And I probably will not install any other plugins for this site. And I've obviously not made any updates to how this site actually looks. Actually, it looks like when I was playing around I did already add in the search here because I don't want to use the default search home because I do, have this custom theme already done. I don't know what other work I have done on this. I don't even remember, quite honestly. I will show you though how you can get this to put in here. So let's edit the page and I will show you what it looks like, in the page here. So it actually just did it like this. So it looks like, let's just scroll down here at the bottom. So we will do this. So we have Directorist right here. Did that do it? No, I'm pretty sure I used a shortcode, but maybe I didn't. Let's just click and see what we see here on the side. Okay, so here we have search form. This is clearly what I used. Put it in there. I customized the text a little bit, which I'll show you up here. Let me delete that so I don't accidentally save it up there. I'm pretty sure all this other text though was what came out with the AI. You'll have to watch my other video where I used the Cadence AI site builder. So yeah, I just customized it just a little bit. I honestly don't even know if it's working. So let's find that out. Go back to the page here. So I noticed that somewhere circus. Yeah, seems to be working fine. So now all I gotta do, is really clean up this design because, obviously when I used the AI site builder from Cadence, it didn't even pull in the entire name here. It's also got pages that I don't need for this directory site. I'd also like to put a few featured listings somewhere on the front page. I'm not quite sure which ones I'll choose yet. And I should also probably do some keyword research to see, what are the top maybe cities, right, where people are looking this up, so I can put links to that on the homepage. And the reason I'm going to do that is because the homepage is always the page on your website that's going to end up with the most natural backlinks. And so if I have, other links on here, that link juice is going to flow through. So other than me, making the few, little tweaks that I need to make, this directory site is essentially done, right? This is my basic process that I've been using, for all of my sites. Like I said, I do tend to prefer creating directories where there are not so many, things that are scraped. So we have a smaller data set so that if I do have to make, edits, manually to all of the listings, I don't have, 1,630. So that's just something for you to keep in mind as you are choosing, what niche you're going to go into, how you're going to build your site. And again, the plugin that I am using is just the free version, of the Directorist plugin. There is a paid version. I've not personally used it, so I can't, recommend it or not recommend it to you. But if you have any other questions, on how I'm building my directory sites, go ahead and drop those in the comments below. And I will answer, your questions for you if I can. And if I can't answer it, I'll try to find the answer for you. Thanks for watching.